Hello, my friends, and let's get straight to the point that the resources of Ukrainian territory are in high demand by everyone. I think everyone remembers the statement made by the Republican senator who said there would be a big deal with Ukraine in exchange for natural resources. However, it's now reported that Ukraine has postponed this deal in order to finalize it with Trump after his inauguration. Ukraine has delayed a deal with the US in the field of natural resources to make the agreement with Trump. Ukraine holds a third of Europe's lithium reserves, which could be particularly interesting for Elon Musk's electric vehicle business. The country also contains 20 of the most critical minerals, cobalt, graphite, whose total reserves are estimated to be worth $11.5 trillion. Trump's ally Graham stated that Trump plans to finalize the deal to return US money and enrich himself with minerals, calling it a good deal for Ukraine. Once again, this proves that the fight is about resources. Now, let's move on to the situation at the front, starting with the Pokrovsk direction. Here, there is very good news, if we can call it that. Late last night, the Ukrainian forces reported that new counterattacks had begun to improve the situation. A counter battle has started in the Shevchenko area. To fix the situation, our command redeployed a strong brigade. I won't say which one yet, you'll guess soon enough. Fully equipped, they are now engaged and have already launched an attack to beat the crap out of that village. Right away, our guys stormed into the village and a fierce battle is ongoing. The Russians are using aviation, artillery, and drones. As we can see, there are efforts to improve the catastrophic situation, and this is encouraging. However, the Russians continue to pursue the objectives and have now taken fire control not only in the Udachne area, but also near the village of Hryhorivka. Locals report that drones are already attacking civilian vehicles there. The Russians are doing all of this to complicate the Ukrainian forces' movements as much as possible. Meanwhile, after the Ukrainian forces' counterattacks, fighting continues near the village of Pishchane. Battles are also ongoing in the areas of Shevchenko, Novyi Zarichne, Dachinske, Lysivka, the village of Promень, and Myrolubivka. As we can see, they are trying to advance on a broad front and attempting to break through the entire defensive line all the way to Pokrovsk. However, the Ukrainian forces are trying to hold the defense and even carry out counterattacks. So we are waiting for changes on the map in favor of the Ukrainian forces. So far, there have been no changes in the past 24 hours. In the direction of Kurakhove, the Russians continue the assaults, attempting to encircle Ukrainian forces units from all sides in the Kurakhove area. So far, the Ukrainian side hasn't confirmed Russian advances near the villages of Hanivka and Romanivka. However, the Russians have been claiming for the second day in a row that this territory is already under their control. We are waiting for official confirmation, but it's clear the situation here is catastrophic. In the direction of Velyka Novosilka, activity is increasing, and the Russians are not sparing their reserves in this sector either. Yesterday, 20 units of equipment attempted to break through to the village of Novyi Komar, but achieved no success, and the Ukrainian forces managed to destroy them. However, the attacks continue, including infantry assaults. Fighting is ongoing for Neskuchne, and they are also trying to advance from Blagodatne. Over the past 24 hours, there have been no changes, but the situation remains difficult. Fighters on the ground report that reinforcements have also arrived here, and they are trying to hold the defense as firmly as possible. The Russians continue large-scale actions, conducting mechanized assaults in the direction of Novyi Komar. The situation is unclear right now. Today, the mortar fire was intense. Our guys shot them hard. They haven't crossed the river yet, so Neskuchne is still holding, and that's good news. Reinforcements have arrived on our side and will be trying to actively push back. Our guys are fighting hard, and there is a chance we might change the situation. If the Russians succeed, the Laheri zone in Velyka Novosilka could end up in operational encirclement. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, the Russians haven't shown any new activity and there have been no changes over the past 24 hours. The large-scale Russian offensive in this area has yet to begin. In the Kherson direction, the Russians continue attacks on the islands near Hola, Prystan and Kozachi, Laheri. However, despite their high activity, they have achieved no success. Now let's move on to the Toretsk direction. Here, the Russians continue to expand the territory under their control in Toretsk. The situation is worsening day by day, and holding the defense is becoming increasingly difficult. Fighting is also ongoing near Krimska, and they are pushing toward Velyka. However, over the past 24 hours, there have been no new changes. In the Chasiv Yar direction, the Russians continue their attempts to advance into the city and are assaulting Stupochka. However, activity remains low and all attacks have been successfully repelled. In the Siversk direction, the Russians are assaulting Bilohorivka and Hryhorivka. Shelling also continues, but the Russians have made no advances and the situation has remained unchanged over the past 24 hours. In the Lyman direction, the Russians are actively pushing towards Zarichne and assaulting Terny. So far, the Ukrainian forces have managed to repel all attacks and the front line remains unchanged. In the Borova direction, fighting is ongoing for Zaporizhzhia, Nova Kruhlякivka, Lozova, and Zeleny High as the Russians attempt to push across the fields toward Shikivka. South of these, battles are taking place for Chernyshina and Hryhorivka, with advances also attempted across the fields from Makiyivka. However, as before, the Ukrainian forces have managed to repel all attacks and the front line hasn't changed over the past 24 hours. In the Kupiansk direction, the Russians have reduced their activity for now and are not conducting new offensive actions, so the situation remains unchanged. In the Kharkiv direction, the Russians continue only shelling with no new attempts to advance closer to Kharkiv. However, fighting in Vovchansk hasn't stopped and shelling of frontline areas is ongoing, but the frontline here remains unchanged. In the Kursk direction, the Russians continue their counteroffensive, pressing from all sides, but they haven't achieved any new successes over the past 24 hours. The Ukrainian forces continue to repel all attacks and destroy a significant amount of equipment. Just yesterday, new video evidence of this emerged. As a result, the Russians are suffering enormous losses in these assaults. It's also reported that in the Oryol region, after Ukraine carried out a drone strike on an oil depot, one fuel reservoir caught fire, and yesterday, after a prolonged blaze, another reservoir ignited. This indicates that the strike was quite successful. In addition, very interesting information has emerged today suggesting that the Ukrainian forces may be preparing a new offensive on Russian territory to stretch their forces and ease pressure on the Ukrainian front. The focus appears to be on the Belgorod region. Reports indicate that Ukrainian shelling of the Belgorod region has intensified. There have also been sightings of new markings on Ukrainian armored vehicles, which may signify the opening of a new direction. For now, we are awaiting further information on this. However, as of this has been discussed publicly, it seems that the secrecy around this operation may already be compromised. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.